morning or afternoon or whatever time it is while you're listening to this. Welcome back to another episode of It's a Twin Thing. Usually when we have a Twinspiration episode, we say we can't wait to introduce our guests. We have the most amazing guests on today, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing that. So don't worry, this week we have a really boring guest. You guys shouldn't even listen to the rest of this episode.
Yeah, turn it off.
Yeah, but listen to the Good News Minute and then just don't listen to the rest because our guest today is just awful.
But she means listen to the inspirational in it.
Yeah, I know that's what we call it. I just keep forgetting.
Okay, but our inspirational in it for today is really fun. Okay, and it's actually going to be a minute because all I could find about this, well, I didn't look that hard, but I got this story from Instagram, and so I'm just going to read it to you, and then we'll post the link because you have to look at the picture because the picture is adorable. It says, a newborn baby abandoned in a forest was saved by a stray dog who carried her across a busy road through a barbed wire fence to a shed where the infant was discovered nestled with her litter of puppies. Definitely a man's best friend. Isn't that just the cutest story you've ever heard in your life? Like, how does a dog even know to rescue the baby, and then it brings it back to its puppies, and then it saved the baby, and now the stray dog and the baby have a home, and that just makes me so happy, and I wish I could have adopted the baby and the dog and its puppies.
Yeah, that is really cute.
Dogs are just the best. So are babies, but dogs are just so smart and sweet and adorable, and babies are just so tiny and innocent and cute, and I just love them. So if you're listening and you have a spare dog or baby, send them my way.
No, we don't need more things in our house.
They're not things, they're animals and babies.
We don't need more living creatures in our house. Oh, I was gonna say, this isn't quite as inspirational, but Ashley's always sending me things on Instagram and Facebook and stuff that she finds of dogs, and
babies.
Yeah, I just think this is really hilarious. She sent me one yesterday that was like this dog someone found passed out and covered in red, what looked like blood, and they thought that the dog had been attacked or something and took him to the vet, and then they found out that it was actually covered in jam, not blood, and the dog had eaten a whole jar of jam and then passed out from a sugar high or sugar crash or whatever from the jam. Isn't that so funny? That is totally something that our dog would do.
Yeah. Our dog one time got into a bag of Hershey's Kisses.
It was in a grocery bag that was closed and then inside a plastic bag inside the grocery bag. So it wasn't like we just left the open bag of Hershey's Kisses out.
And they were wrapped, but somehow he still got into them and ate 6 or 7, and he's a tiny dog. So we were really worried because dogs can't have chocolate. So we called the vet, and they said that he was probably fine, but if he was acting weird, to bring him in. He turned out to be okay, but we were so worried that he was like poisoned by all this chocolate that he ate.
Yep, he was fine, and then we put the bag on the table so that he wouldn't be able to get to them, and apparently he has a chocolate obsession because the next day we heard rustling in the other room and went to see what was going on, and he had jumped up on the table and was sticking his head in the bag of Hershey's Kisses.
Which he's never jumped onto the table before. Yeah. He usually can't jump that high, but
because he's literally like 5 inches tall. Well, probably 12, but he's really tiny, and he's kind of a scaredy cat. So, yeah, he has a chocolate obsession. So, now you guys can stop listening. Just kidding. Today, our guest is one of my favorite people in the world. Well, our parents, too. They listen to this.
Okay.
Today, our guest is my favorite person in the world under 48. We've interviewed a lot of amazing people and gotten to hear their stories, but we thought that our listeners, you hear us talk about a lot of silly things and all the illegal and stupid things that Ashley does, but she also does a lot of pretty incredible things, so we thought it would be fun to interview each other on Twinspiration. So today's guest is the lovely Ashley Summers. I don't know why I said your name in such a southern accent.
I didn't think you did.
Ashley is the co-owner and creator of It's a Twin Thing. She is also the CEO and founder and owner of Stagebooks Theater, a nonprofit organization theater company in Colorado. She is also an actress. She has been seen on things like FX's American Horror Stories and is making really funny faces right now, and the TV movie Finding Home. She is a content creator. She created the web series and subsequent movie Quarantined and It's a Very Quarantined Christmas. And she's also the most wonderful twin sister in the world. She pretty much does everything that you could think of. I'm missing a lot of things because she just does it all. So without further ado, here is Ashley Leanne Summers.
Hi, Aspen.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks so much for agreeing to be a guest on our podcast today.
You're welcome. I didn't have much of a choice, but...
Yeah, what would I have done if you said no? Well, we would have had to record an episode anyway.
You could have pretended to be me.
How do they know I'm not doing that?
I don't
Okay,
know.
maybe I'll interview myself as you.
Okay.
So, Ashley, tell us, how's your day been going? Oh, well, I've been really tired.
I have a
this
higher
morning.
pitched voice than you do.
Okay. Oh, well, I've been really tired today, and I was gonna go to church at 9:15, but then my stomach hurt, so then I slept in, and then I was really mad, and then I'm really behind, and I think that pumpkin is really cute, and I just love animals and babies, and oh my goodness, I really want a baby. Like, I just really love babies, and they're so cute.
Okay, I think they can probably tell that that's you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that
sounded a lot like you.
It wasn't a very good impression.
Well, I guess we should just start at the beginning of your story.
A very good place to start.
Mm-hmm. So you, as far back as I can remember, you and I have always had big, grandiose ideas. When we were 3 and 4, we would try to set up jewelry shops in our driveway, or restaurants from our front window, or lemonade stands to raise money for Children's Hospital. Do you remember a specific point in your young childhood where you started to want to do things like that? Because, I mean, I think lots of kids want to have lemonade stands and stuff, but I feel like we were just on a different level from a very young age. When we were 6, we wanted to have a carnival in our backyard, and we tried to start multiple theater companies and film companies and stuff with our friends, and everyone kind of lost interest after a few seconds. We tried to do a neighborhood trash pickup, and everyone just wanted to come back to our house and play with our toys. And so, do you remember when that all started, what it was inspired by, or do you think you just always had a natural knack for wanting to do big things?
I'm not sure. I don't remember a specific moment where it started, but I think that our parents were just always doing grandiose things like that, and so I feel like that was just I think we just thought it was normal, and I think it was kind of just genetic or in our DNA that whenever we would have an idea, it was it needed to be this big grand thing. It wasn't just we want to have a lemonade stand. It was, we're going to set up a restaurant in our driveway and make custom order meals for people who drive by and raise money for charity. And then no one would order from our restaurant because they didn't want meals made by 3-year-olds. We were probably 4 or 5 when we did that. I think it was probably around 2nd grade. Remember when we tried to make those movies with all of our friends, and we would go through the phone book that the school sent out and call all of our friends and ask if they wanted to be in our movie.
Yeah.
And our friends all said yes, but then when we would, not all of them, but some of them said yes. And then when we would try to actually make them, then no one was interested anymore. That was the same year that we tried to do a trash pickup of our neighborhood, and we invited all our friends over, and do you remember we had prepared this whole speech about how to be more environmentally friendly, and we were showing them our rechargeable batteries and telling them to ride really bikes funny. Instead of driving and stuff. And we were so upset because all of our friends did the trash pickup for 10 minutes and then wanted to come home and play. And we kept telling them, no, we can't. And our parents were okay, we're going to go back and play now. And we were so mad at them. And they were like, well, you just have to understand that everyone else doesn't have the same ambitions as you, and that's not fun for them. But our parents were always very supportive of our crazy ideas. So I think it was around that age where I really just decided that I wanted to do things like that. And then when we were 9, I loved baking, and my dad encouraged me to start an online bakery. And so I think that was when I really felt like I could do grand things and not just that they were these stupid ideas that my friends didn't want to participate in.
I mean, from my memory, I don't think it was like, oh, Ashley, you really like baking, you should turn this into a business. I think it was like you heard about a kid who had their own bakery and you sat down and made a business plan and spent like 3 weeks on it.
Yeah.
And then our parents were like, yeah, you should do it. It wasn't like they tried to make you do it.
Well, I was reading a book about, it was a fiction book, but it was about a kid who opened their own bakery. And so I was like, I want to do that. And I think I didn't know that an online bakery was a thing. So I was trying to figure out how I could get a storefront to open my bakery. And so then my parents helped me set up a website and everything. But even like, remember when we wanted to open a toy doctor?
Yeah.
I think that was in 3rd or 4th grade, and we would like fix all our friends' toys. And
I was pretty good at it.
Yeah. And in 5th grade, we decided to put on a production of Frozen, because that was the year Frozen came out, and we were going to tour around to all the children's hospitals in our area and perform it for the kids.
I thought we were going to do it at nursing homes.
Oh, maybe we were going to do it at nursing homes. But I thought it was at children's hospitals because we thought it would be fun for the kids there.
Because we would always, when we were younger, we would go and do concerts at nursing homes all the time.
Yeah. But it was so cute. I found the folder the other day of all of our Frozen paperwork, and we had sent all their parents these contracts to sign and a rehearsal schedule, and it was very organized for 10-year-olds.
We were very organized.
So that was a very long-winded answer.
That was very long. Do you remember, was it usually one of us that was always coming up with the ideas and then talking the other one into it, or do you think it was mixed between who came up with the ideas, or do you think we would often just be having conversations and then be like, oh, we should do blah, blah, blah?
I think a mix of all of the things, because I think when we made the movie in 2nd grade, I'm pretty sure it was your idea first, but then I think Frozen was my idea first, but I think most things we would just be having conversations, and then we would be like, oh, yeah, we should do a restaurant in our driveway.
And, the other thing I was going to ask was, do you remember, because obviously there was a lot of times where things didn't go the way that we wanted to, like when we tried to do a restaurant and no one came, or we really wanted to do a carnival in our backyard and our parents said no because we were going to have rides where we like tied people up in jump ropes and then had them jump off of monkey bars and stuff. And it's probably a good idea to not let us do that. Yeah. Or we tried to do a concert for all of our neighbors in our backyard and only 2 people came to it. And obviously they were just like little kid things, so it was no surprise that they didn't work out. But do you remember feeling discouraged and having to get over that? Or was it always just like, that didn't work, let's move on to the next thing?
I mean, I think the difference is that even though they were just little kid things, and maybe little kids always feel this way, but it wasn't just like, we're doing a lemonade stand and we're gonna make a few dollars. It was like, we had these huge ideas and it was very real and important to us. So I think most of the time we got really discouraged, or at least I did. And I think that I was able to get over it, but also because I had so many things I wanted to move on to next. But I also think that it was hard for me to understand that other people didn't want to come to things that 6-year-olds were doing because it wasn't like a real event, or that our friends didn't want to participate in our crazy ideas because those weren't necessarily fun for them. Maybe not even that it was super discouraging, because I think that I always wanted to keep trying, but that I just didn't quite understand that I wasn't the same as an adult trying to do those things. Or like we didn't understand why tying people up in jump ropes in our backyard didn't count as a carnival.
So, I mean, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but there's a lot to discuss. And we've talked about this a lot, like with stage bugs and other similar things that we've done. It seemed like everything we would try to do when we were younger, at a certain point, you just got to getting used to it not ever working out. Like when we were 9 and we wanted to do a charity concert, and we really had our heart set on putting this on, and we're calling every place that we could think of to try to get a permit for the concert, and they kept turning us down anywhere we would ask, and so we ended up not being able to do it. And then we tried to do like a cheerleading thing at our elementary
Set
school.
up a cheerleading squad.
Yeah, and our school wouldn't let us do it, and it was just a lot of constant no, because we weren't old enough or we didn't know what we were doing, or a whole slew of things. And then all of a sudden things started to actually happen that we didn't think were ever going to actually work out. So do you remember the first time where something worked that you were surprised about? And now do you expect big ideas to pan out, or are you still surprised when an idea that you have comes to fruition?
I mean, I think the first thing that worked out was when I was 9 and I started that online bakery, because I spent forever on it. It's kind of funny now because when we make websites for our projects, they take a couple days, and I think I spent like 3 or 4 months making that website.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't really expect that it was going to get a lot of business, and it didn't at first. It was mostly family, well, all family or our neighbors or friends that were just trying to be supportive. But then I would print all these flyers, and I would go around the neighborhood handing out samples, and I would put up flyers on community bulletin boards and stuff. And so then when I got my first order from someone that I didn't know, and they didn't know that I was a kid, that was pretty exciting. And then they referred me to their friend, and then I made something for their friend for like both of their kids' birthday parties. So I think that was the first time. But then I don't feel like a lot of things really worked out after that until we were 16 and you did that letters play. And I did not think that it was going to work out, and I didn't think our parents were going to let you do it, and I didn't think any actors were going to be interested. And then when it was really successful, I feel like that was what kind of started the trajectory of our grown-up lives, of things all of a sudden starting to work and it being like a more consistent yes instead of no. I mean, obviously things still didn't always work out, but you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think letters was a lot more successful than either of us thought that it was going to be. And then after that, we kind of felt like we had more ability to do things, and we're like, what can we do next? And then COVID happened, and we were seniors in high school, and we were ready to go off to college, and we wanted to start our own theater company at USC. And we, I think, just had a lot of big ideas of we were going to go out to LA and do all of these things. And obviously we really wanted to be actors, and we were really excited to be in LA. And we had started already booking some bigger jobs. We had done a couple things in LA in the few years before we were moving out to USC, and we were on track to graduate valedictorians. I think we just had a lot of big plans, and then we didn't get to graduate at all. I mean, we graduated, but COVID happened, so there's no graduation. And then we found out that we would not be having a first semester on campus of college. And obviously there was no theater, there was no film, there was nothing to work on. And it felt very much like a cloud of we were dying to be creative and didn't have any outlet. So tell us how you dealt with that.
I don't feel like there was really a long time where we were, I don't want to say that we weren't upset about it, because we were upset about not going back to school, and then it was just like one thing after the next, because it was first not going back to school, and then not having graduation, and then not getting to go to campus. But I don't feel like it was a long time from like everything was canceled and we were just sitting around dwelling on it. I think it was kind of like, everything's canceled, so how are we going to fix it? And then I think you had the idea of doing a web series for a while, because we had started a YouTube channel, which is full of weird, embarrassing videos of us as 15-year-olds acting like 10-year-olds. But Aspen I think she was kind of the leader of the Quarantined project, but we had just talked about doing this web series and having actors participate virtually, and we didn't really think that many actors would be interested because it was this production put on by 16-year-olds and everyone was dealing with COVID and it wasn't paid and things like that. And I think even though things were starting to work out more, I also think we always went into things with the expectation that it wasn't going to work out, and not in a pessimistic way, but just like that's how most things went, and we knew our ideas were a little bit crazy. So we were like, well, hopefully we can find 2 actors to do this project with us, because we just needed someone to play our mom and someone to play our best friend.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. We only were going to cast 2 people.
Yeah, and we were like, we just really hope we can find 2 people. And then we had so many people that were interested. We ended up adding, 20, 30 other characters.
I think we ended up with like 30 some people in the cast.
Yeah, and it was originally like 4 episodes and we ended up writing 10.
And it wasn't like we added 30 characters so that we could cast everyone who was interested. It was like we probably, for one character, we had like 1,000 people submit.
Yeah, it was insane because obviously it was open to people all over the world, but I think we probably went through 4,000 or 5,000 submissions, and we probably watched 500 to 1,000 auditions for that project.
Yeah, which was also a really interesting crash course in auditioning and self-taping, because obviously we couldn't watch every second of every person's audition, and it was very eye-opening to us as actors of what keeps a casting director interested. And I think that was on another level of how much interest and how many submissions we got, because everyone was dying to do something. And I think that for a project of that size, that is very, very unlikely to ever happen again. I mean, I don't want to speak for you because this is your interview, but
no, go ahead.
I feel like for me and maybe for you too, that was very much confirmation that it was an important thing to do, because I think a lot of our original idea was, well, nothing's being created right now. There's nothing to watch. And we just kept thinking about like our little cousins who loved Disney Channel and loved Nickelodeon and things like that. And they weren't going to have anything to keep them entertained, and they weren't in school, and how could we like help them get through this and have something to keep them laughing and stuff. But then when so many actors were interested, it was confirmation that everybody needs this. Everybody needs something to work on, and this is going to be important to people besides just us.
Yeah, it was like we just wanted there to be some sort of distraction and something to make the world feel a little better. And so I think that was also just confirmation for other ideas we had moving forward, that it was like, that was probably one of our far crazier ideas, and it was so much harder than we ever expected to put on. Like, I can't even imagine now how we cast it with that many auditions. We probably had 100+ auditions for some of the characters, and we had to pick one person to play that character, and it was just crazy. I don't know where I was going with this, but I just think that was kind of the biggest project we had done so far, and it gave us, at least me, but I think both of us, a big boost of confidence for our future projects.
And looking back on Core and Twin, because a lot of things, even things that semi worked out that we did when we were younger, we're kind of embarrassed about now. Looking back on Core and Twin, do you feel like, oh gosh, that was really cringy, I can't believe we put that out, or do you feel proud and confident about it?
Honestly, not to sound cocky, but I think it was really good. Like, I didn't want people to watch it now, because in my head I was like, that was so embarrassing and stupid. And I think it was a fun project, and everyone who worked on it did a great job. But just like from our side, I was like, we were probably terrible in it, and the writing was juvenile, and it was just probably not very good. And some of the other things on our YouTube channel I have taken down or something, because not that they were bad, but they just,
you don't want people who know us now to
yeah. Then some of our Stage Bugs kids, I'm not sure how they found it, but they found our Core and Twin episodes, and in our first camp of the summer, it was Willy Wonka, and we had kids ages 5 to 10, and they were all obsessed with it. They wanted to watch it every day during lunch. They would ask us if we could pull it up for them on our phones. Some of them had like all of the lines memorized and were always quoting it to us. And so then I was like obviously hearing some of the episodes because they were watching it during their breaks, and I was like, that was actually really funny. Like, that was a lot better than I thought it was. And so I am proud of it. And I think that it gave a lot of people something to do that I think was important. And I think that it still holds up as a pretty funny show.
I know. I agree with you. I think I hadn't watched it in a really long time. And then all of a sudden hearing it and seeing it again, I was like, people really need to watch this.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not the most amazingly high-quality thing ever, but I think it's a lot better than in my head I had built it up to be.
It's like at first when the kids were saying they were watching, I was like, oh no, that's so embarrassing. But I think they all seem to like be really interested in it.
So I guess since you're talking about Willy Wonka, let's dive in a little bit to Stage Bugs. So
let's
fast forward a year-ish after Quarantined. And we might have already talked a little bit about how Stage Bugs started on here, but I kind of want to know more the side of why you wanted to start a youth theater company, because we talk a lot about wanting it to make a difference for the kids, and you especially just have so much passion for, like, you couldn't care less about making money and being successful as a company. You just want...
Well, I care a little bit about that.
But like your definition of success is these kids walk away with a love of theater and a confidence in themselves and feeling that they're valued. And I just kind of want to know, like, what your inspiration behind that was. I mean, I think I know, but tell our audience.
Yeah, I think we might have talked about this a little bit before, so I will try to not make this a long-winded answer. But obviously, Aspen and I loved theater, and especially me, I was insanely obsessed with theater when I was 11 through 14, and I had some good experiences with theater, but a lot of the youth theater companies that I participated in, I walked away from most of them feeling less confident. And when we started performing and we were 7 and we wanted to be opera singers, I was like super confident, and I was not good, but I just thought I was so cool and that I could be a singer, and I had no doubt that I was gonna make that happen. And then when I started loving theater, I was like, I'm going to play Annie someday. I'm going to be on Broadway when I grow up. I'm going to go to Carnegie Mellon and study musical theater. And then each experience that I had, not every single one, but a lot of experiences that I had, I just felt more and more discouraged, because I would go to a youth theater company and they had 50 kids in one show, and I was in the ensemble, and I would stand in the back and not really do anything, and I would sit out for half of rehearsal watching the leads get to learn, and I felt like I wasn't really learning that much because...
Hold on, not sit out because she was like pouting sit out.
Yeah, sit out because they didn't have anything for me to do.
And they would just say, go work on homework and watch.
And so I would just feel like I wasn't important and they didn't really care about me, and that I wasn't really learning anything because I was not participating that much in the show, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I think every show, even if I was in the ensemble, like, I just loved being on stage, and I loved getting to rehearse and be in the songs and whatever. And so I think it was just consistently disappointing, because it wasn't even that I wanted to be the lead role. It was just like I wanted the opportunity to do more. And I remember when I started going to the acting school, that really changed everything for me, because I think that they actually did care about me, and I wasn't that good when I started going there, and they really helped me improve a lot and gave me a lot of confidence and believed in me. And anyways, so we would read books about acting at that school as part of the curriculum, and I would be like sitting in my 8th grade classroom reading a book by Sanford Meisner. Like, I just need to play a role where I can like actually be a character and analyze the script and do all of these things. Like, I just was really passionate about it. And I would do these summer camps that at this one theater company we've talked about before, Big Bird, and she just did not like me, and I would just have a miserable experience because I just felt like I was the worst one there, and I had no fun, and I would sit out for half of the day waiting for them to give me something to do, because they would just tell the kids who weren't working on stuff to go sit in the hallway. And sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I just felt super discouraged, and I think if I hadn't started going to the acting school that I went to, I think I probably would have quit acting. Everything was telling me that I was not good at this. And
can I ask a clarifying question? Was it just because you weren't getting the roles that you wanted, or was it because you felt like the teachers or instructors or directors didn't believe in you or didn't care about you or were just kind of ignoring you or putting you, I can't think of the word.
It felt like I was kind of just being tossed off to the side, and I felt like they didn't really seem to think that I could improve because they just kept giving me roles where I was in the background, and it didn't seem like they were trying to help me improve. It was like they couldn't remember my name and they didn't really care that I was there. And I think I said, like, I didn't really care that much about being the lead. I just wanted to have a chance to, like, do something more and to feel like I was important to the show. And sometimes Big Bird would just be so mean to me and like yell at me and tell me that I sounded bad, and I only did 2 shows with her, but it was just very detrimental to my like confidence. And by the time I started college, I wanted to take a voice class last semester, and I was like 2 seconds away from quitting it because I found out that I had to sing in a recital, and I was so embarrassed to sing in front of people because I just thought I was like the worst singer in the world.
She wouldn't even let me come watch it because she didn't want anyone that knew her to hear her sing.
Yeah, I was like so embarrassed, and the voice teacher I had was amazing and made me feel a little bit better, but I absolutely dread teaching the music to the kids at Stage Bugs. And I don't think I'm a great singer, but I also think that a lot of those experiences just damaged my confidence, and I really just loved theater so much that I wanted to love being in the shows. So that brings us to summer after COVID, and well, I won't tell the whole story, but basically I had wanted for a long time to do some sort of theater classes because I didn't want any kid to have that feeling that I had where they felt discouraged. And I thought the whole point of youth theater is to teach kids and to make them feel better about themselves and to let them have the opportunity to participate in theater. And so I really wanted to start something where that was the goal, and where every kid walked away feeling better about themselves, and every kid had the opportunity to be the star and shine on stage, and where there weren't stars and it was really just a team of kids trying to put on a show together, and everyone felt important and talented. And so that's kind of where Stage Bugs came from, because it was really important to me to create an environment where everyone got to shine and feel valued and learn to love theater or expand their love of theater. Yeah, sorry, that was such a long answer.
No! So you start Stage Bugs, and then tell us a little bit about how it went at first and how it's grown. And then, I'm sorry I keep asking you about like specific moments, but was there a specific moment where you felt like you had achieved your mission? Or
Yes, well, Stage Bugs had been an idea for about a year before it actually came to fruition, because we had came up with the idea the summer before we started, and then we had announced our camps and started the company and had everything in order to start our camps last summer, so summer of 2022, and we were doing free workshops because that was another one of our goals, was to make theater accessible to people of all financial and economic and social backgrounds. So we were trying to get people to sign up for this free workshop, and we could not get anyone to sign up, and we could not get anyone to sign up for our camps. We were 100% sure we were going to have to cancel all of our camps, and this was probably until May, and our first camp started at the end of May. And we ended up having...
I think it was like the weekend before camp started when we had one person register that like made it enough that we could hold it.
Like, it was just like we weren't going to make enough money to cover our costs, and we weren't going to have enough kids in the show for it to even be an actual show. We ended up having to cancel one, but we had all of the other ones last year. But we were begging people to sign up for some of our camps. Like, we were doing Annie, and we had 4 or 5 people signed up, and obviously you can't do Annie with that few people, so we were basically giving away registrations just to get enough people in the camp to make it go forward. But the moment where I felt like this crazy thing actually worked was our first show was Peter Pan, and it was with 5 to 10-year-olds, and we got really lucky with this group of 7 kids, which seems crazy now because we have 18 to 20 in our camps this summer. A lot of them were new to theater, and we had their performance at the end of the week, or the end of the 2 weeks, and we had so many people come to watch. It was all the kids' family members and friends and stuff, but we thought there would be like 1 or 2 parents per kid, and it was like this packed audience. And when the audience was getting there, we kind of just had this moment of like, what on earth is happening? We did not expect all these people to come, and it was so surreal that these parents let us actually watch their kids for 2 weeks and teach them theater, and
thought we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah. And then they did this adorable show of Peter Pan. I probably cried like 3 times. And then afterwards, all of the audience members were like coming up to us and raving about it, and the parents were saying how much their kids loved it. And like, we had these 2 kids who, one of them had came to one of our workshops earlier and was so shy and nervous and did not want to participate, and then she played Wendy in Peter Pan and was amazing, and she ended up being in love with theater and like used her birthday money to sign up for one of our other camps that summer. And this other little boy who was his first time doing theater, and he was playing Captain Hook, and he got so into character, and his mom just kept telling us how much he loved it, and he signed up for camp again this summer. And so I think that was kind of the moment where it was like, even if this is the only camp we do and we don't make any money, these kids love theater because of this experience, and that was the goal. Because it was just the first camp, and we really had no idea if it was going to work out. We didn't think it was going to work out, and so that was like the turning point, I think.
Mm-hmm. So then I won't make you talk about stage bugs forever, but
that's okay. I would love to.
So since then, how has stage bugs progressed and changed, and how is this summer different from last summer?
Well, by the end of last summer, we kept doing our free workshops, and we went from not being able to get people to sign up to having wait lists and adding extra sessions of the workshops because we had so many people who wanted to sign up that didn't get a spot. And then this summer, we announced our shows at the beginning of January, and registration was supposed to open, I think it was January 23rd.
I think so.
And we had been having trouble securing our location for the summer, and registration was supposed to open on January 23rd, but we didn't have the registration sites all the way put together and open until like noon. And we were like, it's fine. Nobody's marked it on their calendars. Last year, we didn't get people to sign up until like April. So we didn't think it was going to be a problem if the registration didn't open until noon. And I think 3 people emailed or called us before noon saying that they wanted to register and they couldn't get the sites to work. So we were scrambling to get those done, and then we sold out our first camp before March, I think. And
I feel like it was like close to the beginning of February.
Yeah.
March was when we decided.
It was really fast, and then we had so many people on the wait list that we decided to add a second session of that camp, and now we have all of our camps sold out. We have 18 kids in 2 of the camps, or 18 in 3 of the camps, and 19 in 1 of the camps, because 18 was technically how many we could have at the capacity of the place we were using, but we added another kid to one of them. It was crazy compared to last year where we had 7 kids in 1 and 9 in 1, and we had 13 in Annie, but that was because we gave away so many registrations.
Yeah, I think only 4 people probably actually registered on their own.
Like paid full price. Yeah. And we used up all of our scholarship funds this year, which was awesome, but also a little bit sad because we had other people apply for scholarships, and Aspen's a little bit more sensible than me. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this person applied for a scholarship. We have to give them one.
I mean, I really want to give people scholarships too, but it was like all of our camps were full, and Aspen was like,
we really could not give
how
them a
can
scholarship.
we fit this person in? And I was like, well, I would love to, but we literally can't fit more people in the studio, so.
Per our contract, we literally were not allowed to, but I was like, we have to figure out a way. But last summer we were outside, this summer we're inside, which is nice because you don't have to worry about bugs and heat, but it just feels more professional, I guess, to be inside. And I love having more kids, except that it is harder to make them all feel the same amount of attention and value because obviously you can't have 18 characters in each show have the same number of lines. So that is something that I have stressed to the max about and rewritten scripts over and over to try to make all the characters as equal as possible. But I think that overall, it seems like we've still done a pretty good job of making it a good experience for everyone. And every day after camp, we'll make a list of the kids that we feel like might be feeling discouraged or might be disappointed or might not be having fun. And we'll like come up with ideas for how to make it better for them. So I feel like we are still doing our best to keep our mission alive, even though we have way more kids. Was that a good answer to how it's different?
I think so. Okay, we might need to do a two-part interview because I have a lot more to ask you, but I'll wrap it up. So really quickly, give us like your 30-second version of why we decided to start It's a Twin thing.
Oh, because we were both taking a semester off of college and we thought we were going to be bored, but then we ended up being really busy because we also don't know how to have free time. But we had the idea to start Twinspiration because we had a lot of inspirational people in our lives, and we thought that everyone just needed a little more inspiration and good news instead of all of the sadness and bad news that you hear a lot, and thought that people could learn a lot from other inspirational people. And then we started the whole It's a Twin Thing brand to cover all of the bases of all of our different ideas, and we wanted to just have like a fun, funny podcast for people to listen to and a blog where we could share our random thoughts and hopefully inspire people and put out more good into the world, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap it up. My last question before our last two questions is, can you tell us a little bit about anything else new and exciting that you're working on right now?
I don't know. Am I allowed to share the other things?
So?
We are working on a pilot for a crime drama. I'm not going to give away the plot because I don't want anyone to steal it, but it's really interesting.
It's going to be really cool.
And like I said, we're just so busy.
Yep, our Mary Poppins camp ends on Friday. That's when the performance is, and then we're going to be filming at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Yep, and we are working on our first book together, which we were hoping to get published by Christmas because it's a Christmas book, but we'll see. And
it's almost done.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for now. We're doing fall classes at Stage Bugs. We're going to go back to school, and we have our own theater company on campus, so we're going to do a show there.
And we're flying back for our fall Stage Bugs classes because they're like one weekend every month. So we booked the tickets already, and we put like business trip instead of personal trip, which was pretty exciting.
So cool. Yeah, I think that's all.
Awesome. Okay, so Ashley, we always like to ask our guests the same two questions before we wrap up. So first of all, do you have a favorite inspirational quote you would like to share with our listeners?
Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land among the stars.
Cute. Love it. And then usually we ask if you could have an identical twin if you would want one, but you already have one.
Yes, I do. You can ask if I would want an identical triplet.
That's what I was going to ask, but then I was like, or should I ask if you would want a not twin, or if you would want a fraternal twin? Do you think you would rather us be fraternal? That's my question.
No. Sometimes I just wish we looked different so that people would think of us as different people. And when we were younger, I wish we were interested in different activities, but I worry that if we were fraternal, we wouldn't be so in sync and like want to do all the same crazy things and be able to read each other's minds. However, I would like to have a little sister.
That's a shock.
I know.
Okay, well, sorry that interview was really long because I know we both had a lot of time for that, but
it's my fault.
We like talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's sometimes. The thing is, like, we can get into really long conversations, so we might as well record them. Yeah. We had a really good conversation the other day, and then we were like, we should have recorded this, but it was also like 11:30 at night, so it was a lot of us cutting each other off and saying like and which we probably do a lot anyway, but.
And I think we were in the car when we were having it, weren't we?
Oh no, it was when we were trying to have like a fun movie night or something, and then we ended up sitting at the kitchen table talking about life for 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. But there was another time we were in the car and we had a really good conversation. We were like, should we start recording?
Yeah.
This isn't going to sound good because of the car noises.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for listening. Make sure to join us next week for our next episode, which we'll see what it is next
And then
week.
the next week for Aspen's interview.
Yes. We will talk to you later. Bye.